just start one and upload our shit to it. Like put
Oh
it in
my
our link
God.
tree.
Yes.
You could.
Yes. And
Maybe.
have it be like everything's hidden behind it, so they have no idea. Like it was like, no, it's just a duplicate.
That ain't gonna work.
Damn it. Ah. Hey everybody, how's it going out there? I was trying to do something a little different right now with, actually I think I might be able to do it, but you know what, fuck it, we're already here. It's amazing, this stream, or I should say this channel, went from rated G to kind of like a pseudo PG-13, maybe R now. Is PG-13 strong language? I don't know. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hey, I am Chris the Cop. I'm a real police officer playing video games, talking everything nerd, and now talking with fellow Leos across the United States with Coffee with the Cop, all because of our little, hold on, now we are, okay, talking with fellow Leos across the United States about just things that are going to come up in chat, as well as what they want to talk about. I actually have a couple of questions for some of our special guests here, and I'm hoping that they'll keep returning, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce them and let them introduce themselves. If you're looking at this stream, I have someone off to what would be my right on the screen, and that will be Michael, and I'll let Michael introduce himself in just a sec. And then we have the boys from, I almost said it, OnlyCops. God, these guys, the name that they could have chosen would have been a little bit better, but all right. But we got Bill and Josh. If you guys watched Tuesday's live stream, we got to play some SWAT, or not some SWAT 4, but some Ready or Not, and that was a lot of fun. And then right below me, like the Brady Bunch, we got SternalJet making funny faces on whatever the hell he's drinking.
Sprayed me.
Oh. Okay.
You sprayed me.
Might be time for a shower, Sternal.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Now he smells good now.
His monthly shower.
What the hell?
And then we have our resident balaclava wearer. We got SWATtheory in the house as well. So he's done a little Ready or Not with us. And depending on what happens, he may have to jump out of the stream because he actually has to possibly go get some bad guys, which is kind of cool. But getting bad guys is what we love doing. That will be it. So I'm going to let Michael introduce yourself, and then we'll move on to the boys.
Hey, I'm Michael. I'm a fan of OnlyCops and a Patreon supporter with them, and I'm also a law enforcement officer in the state of North Carolina. dust the hat that I get made fun of by Josh and Bill all the time.
All right. You do any gaming?
Yes. I play Ready or Not a lot. Just any kind of game. I'm a big sci-fi nerd as well. So.
Yeah, I can't blame you there. As a matter of fact, just so you folks know, he joined us on our Ready or Not. He came in and played with us the last couple of rounds, so that was kind of cool. All right, Bill and Josh.
Hey, we're Bill and Josh from OnlyCops. Josh and Bill. Like I said, we retired in 2021 from law enforcement. We were in law enforcement in North Texas, the DFW area. It's a pretty big police department out there. And we made OnlyCops because we are allowed to say things now that we're out. You'll see that SternalJet, Michael, and Chris. We talked about losing your Fifth Amendment rights, and so we're bringing the Fifth Amendment rights back, or we're bringing the First Amendment rights back to law enforcement. So we're happy to be here. Like I said, we do officers reacts and let's plays and things like that, and we really just try to, as everyone kind of does, if you're a personality on the internet, we try to bring a law enforcement perspective to civilian eyes in a way that's biteable and digestible. So
nice. And I gotta say, I do appreciate that. And the more I thought about it, what's funny is that, we played Ready or Not on Tuesday, and then found out you guys are going to be here for today's stream. And I was thinking to myself, like, just some of the things that you guys are doing. And then I saw that, Mike the Cop on Instagram, was looking to promote other channels, and that's why I threw it on there. I don't know if you saw my post, but I was like, hey, man, you got to get these guys. Oh, okay. You got to get these guys.
I rolled really hard.
promote these guys, man, because these guys are they're legit, and they're giving us back our voice. Because what a lot of people don't realize is we don't have a First Amendment voice, and what we say off duty. Here's what gets me upset, and then I'm going to let the other guys, and maybe we'll talk about this First Amendment thing at first, so people maybe can understand it, and maybe we can get you guys to wrap your head around it. What people don't understand is that we're the only profession in the United States that can get in trouble and lose our job for something we do off duty. That's what just amazes me, is that everyone talks about police accountability, police this, police that, yet we're the only ones that if we do something, if we say or do something off duty, or let's even go a little bit further, maybe we don't do something off duty, we could be held accountable by our own agency that's maybe 50 miles away. And that just blows me away. And what I'll do is I'll let the other two talk. We'll have SWAT and Stern go ahead and introduce themselves, and then we'll start our coffee with that, so people can really understand what the heck is going on there. So hey, SWAT, let's go ahead and introduce your balaclava self.
Funny you guys brought that up. That is exactly why I wear this damn thing that's uncomfortable as hell, is the politics and everything in our department. Let me just actually back up for a second. Hi, SWAT here. I've been doing law enforcement this is my 8th anniversary this year, and I've been on SWAT for 5 years this year. Nice. Like those two said earlier, the reason I wear this damn thing is I've so far managed to keep myself relatively off the radar for my department. I work in the Midwest. I've actually had a couple firefighters, ironically, approach me and say, hey, are you the...
Oh, man.
And which is bad, because we've actually had a couple of, in the last 2 years, we've had 3 major instances of guys doing some stupid stuff, and it winds up like global. Like the tweets get put out by like celebrities and stuff of dumb things they've said on Facebook. It's no secret, if anybody's watched my YouTube videos, I am very much an R-rated sense of humor kind of person. But we've had, and we were talking before about the body cameras having a mute function on our stuff. We had somebody almost get disciplined because he wanted to mute and say, hey, by the way, man, I can make it to your daughter's birthday party this Saturday. Unmuted. And they even reviewed his body cam and said, well, what'd you mute for? What was so important? So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I was actually pulling up I was going to read my policy a little later on, trying to find it, which I think I just did later when we talk about it. Yeah, people wonder why we don't talk a lot, or why when people start putting cameras in our faces, we clam up. You say the wrong thing your chief doesn't like and you're not protected enough, done.
Goodbye.
So anyway, that's why I wear this stupid thing. It makes it really difficult to drink my coffee, but
yeah,
that's why I go ninja. I thought about getting like a little ski mask or punking a hole in this thing, or try to drink through it one time and it just goes whack. I was like, oh.
See, this is why we need. I'll do a plug. Black Rifle Coffee. It would be great if you sponsored our coffee.
Yes. Come on, bring it on.
Nameless plug.
I keep
in Texas.
I keep whatchamacallit, emailing them to say, hey man, would you? I got this show called Coffee with the Cop every other Saturday. You know, blah 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 blah. What better way to you know? They still haven't responded yet. So if anyone knows Black Rifle Coffee,
they have a thin blue line
Veterans
label.
React.
Yeah.
And that's what made us think of the officers react. We were like, well, we can do the same thing.
Yeah,
just
we
with
can.
Cop stuff instead of veteran stuff.
yeah, exactly. And plus, too, there's 750,000 of us in the United States. So,
Right.
Sure.
hey, all right, SternalJet, it's all you.
All right. It's my name is SternalJet, aka Adrian Johnson. I'm a police officer in Minnesota. I'm also a second lieutenant in the Minnesota National Guard. So I've been doing that for about 7-8 years as well. I've been a police officer for a year, so I'm still I'm past the year mark now, so I'm still a rookie though. But I have gone through, you know, all the Minnesota stuff. Hang on a sec. Is the volume okay?
Yeah, sure is.
Okay, I'm getting like weird stuff. Okay, yeah, so I'm getting, I've been through all that stuff. You know, Minnesota has a lot of requirements to become a police officer. I've been through ROTC, SMP program, through the military and the Minnesota National Guard as well. So I can bring a lot of perspective and knowledge, not only on the law enforcement side, but also the military side. So I do know that Tyler brought up something saying that it happens to us in the military as well. Chris mentioned earlier that law enforcement is one of the only professions that can be punished for off-duty conduct, and that does apply to an extent to a lot of military personnel as well, specifically, you know, commissioned officer side and neglect and all that stuff. So obviously criminal stuff can have an effect on you, but a good point Sean brought up is that, you know, as a commissioned officer and a platoon leader, I'm in charge of 40-some guys, and if I'm neglectful of my duties to take care of someone and provide them resources, I can also find myself in trouble that way as well. So I just wanted to address your comment, Sean. So, but yeah, so pleasure to be an acquaintance with everyone, and for Chris to help support the show and get to know everyone and meet Michael, who's in North Carolina, which is neighbor to where I am right now.
Oh. All right, guys. Sorry, I was just a little technical difficulty here. I'm just trying to fix our little banner. It was a little off. Fox was texting me, so I'm going to fix this real quick while I'm going to go actually to all of us. And I'll fix it while we're here. Okay, hey, guys. Bill and Josh. You know what? We started talking about the First Amendment. The whole reason why you guys are doing what you're doing. I'll start it off with what people need to understand, and then I'm going to fix this screen here after, and let you guys, while you guys are talking, is, ladies and gentlemen, what a lot of people don't understand is that when we become police officers, and I never understood this, no one ever told me that this was going to happen, is that I could be disciplined for things that I say off duty, or I could be disciplined for things that I do off duty, and there are examples of that all over the internet. But it's amazing that if I do a social media post, and here's the thing is that even if I got political, like say I support a certain candidate for, you know, and let's just go right to it. The presidency. We know the presidency divided this country. You were either a Biden fan or a Trump fan type of thing. And if you did certain things, if you said I was with a political affiliation and someone within your city didn't like it, they would inform your department that, hey, this person posted on Instagram that they support Trump. Well, yeah, that's my First Amendment right to be able to do that. And I'm not saying I supported Trump. I'm just giving you an example. And then then the chief would say, well, okay, well, it's their personal Instagram. All they need to do is find one picture of you in uniform that shows that you're with that department, and then they got you. And Josh and Bill, you guys want to talk about that a little bit?
I guess where to start. And our department had an entire PR wing, like that was their job. They sued 5M.
Yeah.
Because somebody made a rendering of our like patrol cars, and because it had the badge and the insignia and everything, and they won that lawsuit because they made it their own intellectual property. I think kind of, and you know, SWAT theory got on this idea of it. It's, you almost need anonymity to have any semblance of even just safety. Because you got to imagine, it's not just discipline, or it's not just losing your job. Let's say I were to get into an officer-involved shooting. right? And they try to find some way to tie malice to that shooting. This guy could have stabbed my friend and been in the process of stabbing me when I shot him, and he said, well, you voted for this person, or you like this type of product, or you, and if they can tie that affiliation, it goes from maybe, you know, a manslaughter charge to a hate crime just like that, and now you're on the news, and now you're whatever, and you're literally protecting your life. A senator does it, and they're like, oh, that's cool, a senator went and protected himself from someone trying to kill him. But when you're in law enforcement, it's very different. And I kind of understand, and we say this a lot when we do breakdowns. We're designed to be held to a higher standard. It's the whole point of the job, is that you will be held to a higher standard. You have the training, you have the experience, you were recruited specifically, you should be at least, because you're the right person for the job. However, the degree of which that's applied to you when you're in law enforcement is insane. And there's no, and kind of to make the analogy with the military, you could sit there and say, this is my orders. You know, you have some level of deferred responsibility, because you can say, well, per my orders, XYZ happens. You know, you can look at a situation like Tiananmen Square, for instance. You might be the tank driver, but you're like, I either do this or I go to prison. I don't really have much of a choice. In law enforcement, it's a very different animal where you're asked to do incredibly extraordinary things, and they're going to scrutinize every single facet of your life. Most of the law enforcement officers I know don't have Facebook. They don't have Instagram. Or if they do, they have it under some sort of surname.
Yeah.
We had this training in academy where they said you have to have that because you are going to be held liable.
And our department made it very clear they did not want us on social media.
Yeah.
We were not like, there was not to be any posting while you're on duty. There was not like no pictures in uniform. Like, they wanted to control the narrative for what came out of the department. And I guarantee, had we started this any sooner than we did before we left, we would have been in someone's office explaining what was going on. Even though we never talked about what department we were from, we never wore or said anything about what department we were from. But people from our department saw our YouTube videos, because we started, I don't know, maybe a month before we left. And they would come up to us and they'd be like, hey, does admin know about your guys' YouTube channel? We were like, not unless you tell them. I mean,
right? Yeah. So I think it's different, and I think that the amount of stress and liability, and it really is, it's both civil and criminal liability that current law enforcement officers have today is completely unprecedented. You are not allowed. I like to joke about the Twitter analogy where if some celebrity gets in trouble, they'll dig up tweets from like 10 years ago. At worst case scenario, it's a little embarrassing for them. For law enforcement, I mean, there's real like criminal consequences for that, or there's real, it's a lot more. The consequences of those things are considerably more. It's not just your livelihood. You're talking about like, imagine getting doxxed as a cop.
And we had an officer get in an officer-involved shooting, and then his home address got released from the court documents.
Sure.
And we ran like almost 24 hours a day. We went by his house every hour. So and it just that doesn't really happen anywhere else. So
that, and the court of public opinion is a lot harsher than the actual court system. You know, you can be completely justified in the court system and still be guilty as far as public opinion is concerned. You know, you're going to be judged way more harshly in the light of the public than you are in the courts. And sometimes that's a good thing. But a lot of times that's where every cop gets heartburn. When we sit here and think, man, we're about to get into something, that's in the back of your mind is, oh my God, am I going to end up on the news? And how is it going to look? And how am I going to look when it ends up on the news?
Yep. And something that comes up is, with every single decision you make, you're always going to have that divide. This side of the room is going to agree with that decision and think it's the best decision made for that moment you have and all the circumstances. And you'll always have the opposite, who just think it was the dumbest decision in the world, and people who don't understand, people who don't blah blah blah. And it's something that we have to learn to get over pretty quickly, the public opinion part of it. But it still bothers us. We'll never forget about we'll never be like, when things happen and in town, and you have your city community Facebook page and you browse through it, and then you're going to see a case you might have been involved in. People will talk about it, speaking on experience, and then you're going to be like, oh, that was a dumb, they should have, done X, Y, and Z or something like that. I'm like, well, it can't, but.
I mean, if you want a prime example of that, and I know we're trying to stay away from politics, but the Kyle Rittenhouse case is a huge example of it. I mean, just yesterday, he posted a meme punking on himself about crying on the stand, and and people are like, "Oh, well, you murdered black people." It's like, what the? What?
Yeah, nice try.
You carried a weapon across state lines, and you weren't supposed to be in Kenosha when during the court hearing. It's like, well, first of all, it was 2 pedophiles and a convicted felon. I'm pretty sure were the people he shot.
Yep.
They were all white. His father lived in Kenosha, so he was supposed to be there. The rifle belonged to his friend. I forget the other kid's name. Something Damian Black, I think. The rifle belonged to him. He didn't straw man purchase it. Kyle was actually attacked and had his life threatened. Like all these facts that came out during the trial, and people still
matter. Yeah.
Like the best comment I saw in that tweet chain, because I'm an idiot and I go on Twitter, was I didn't watch the case because I didn't want to validate this racist murder. It's like, really? So you didn't go to math school to learn about numbers?
Yeah, I'm going to comment. Yeah. I just listened to the news about everything.
And getting away from that for a second here, as far as like, our First Amendment rights being gone. Well, my department's not that bad as far as social media or what we can say or do. There is a department less than an hour from where I live, a city police department that literally has in policy from their admin that you are not allowed to criticize the department, admin, or the policies of the department. If someone questions you and goes, well, why, sir, do you do this as a police officer? If you explain to them the truth and say, well, it's because of this policy, you can get in trouble because now it's seen as criticizing that department and their policy. It is that bad. They cannot say anything that could be seen as criticism.
Yeah, how dare you criticize your admin?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah, I'm actually got my policy pulled up here. I'm trying to find it, but somewhere it says you can be terminated for criticism. I'm just trying to find it in our actual department policy.
That's wild.
I had to copy and paste. Well, like I said, there's a reason I hide my face, and I'll say it now. With the recent, when we're behind the scenes, when we're done recording, I'll tell you guys some examples since I feel a little bit safer there. But we've had guys, like I said, that whole muting thing. We had somebody up their ass about, we'll watch you mute. Because my buddy's 12-year-old daughter's birthday party was nobody else's damn business in this criminal investigation. That's why.
And I'll say this. The ADA theoretically has language in it that would be considered discrimination for terminating somebody based on those grounds. But because you're in law enforcement, that does not apply to you. You are a second-class citizen when it comes to being discriminated against for personal feelings, beliefs, things of that nature. And again, you can go past that to even saying, again, facial hair, tattoos, things of that nature, personal choice in a lot of this stuff, where it might even be celebrated in other fields of work. You are completely condemned. And it's odd because they'll sit there and take the hashtag humanize the badge.
Yeah.
Because they want the clout as an administrator to say, oh yeah, I'm for that. And I'll say, oh cool, but you're completely.
But you won't do it. You don't want us to actually interact with people or have genuine conversations with people about our views or opinions, because it might not go well with what you want to portray as this department.
Yeah, and where a lot of people will say, well, you're just worried about getting promoted. I was like, no. I'm not just worried about getting fired. I'm worried about being fired and being unhireable anywhere else. It's not just you'll be written up for dereliction of duty. You'll get written up for conduct unbecoming.
Yeah, good luck with that next interview.
Also, I'm saying they do any background investigation and they said, well, Sternal over there, turned off his body cam, and so we felt that he wasn't transparent enough. And he's like, I was having to ask my wife for something, and I had to give my personal address, and this is public record.
Sternal's gonna get fired for that mustache.
But what I'm saying is, if that's the case, they can, with no prejudice on this, they can write him up for, conduct unbecoming, and you might as well. I mean,
Yeah.
There's no context to it. All they're going to see is the discipline for it. And even if you tried to leave and go into the civilian world, they'll ask. Like, it was the most liberating thing for me wasn't leaving law enforcement. It was getting my honorable discharge from work.
Yeah.
Like, I really wasn't gone.
And it took a while for us to get them.
Sure.
Like, we're convinced they were trying to find some way to say that
I'm sure
we were shitty and, like,
Sure.
you know, because they knew, like, we did not hide the fact that we were leaving and going to do this YouTube channel, and what are you gonna? You can't stop us.
Yeah.
We gave them a month notice before leaving, so.
And I finished my shifts too.
Yeah, we did.
I sat there and I
we
did
didn't
all
call
my
in and
paperwork.
do all that crap.
I wasn't
so.
gonna let them. They had time to move personnel around, but like it's a very different. And I don't understand how this culture began and how it started. And I'm sure the media plays into a certain portion of this.
Yeah.
But also the general blanket narrative that's now being played throughout, and Chris did a really good job of articulating this last time about the way that the like required national training for administrators is to create this very strange contentious relationship between
like you're not a cop anymore.
Yeah,
like you're not a patrol officer anymore.
Well, and they'll be real quick to say, well, patrol's the backbone of you know,
They'll say that.
They'll say it,
Yeah.
but at the same,
Yeah.
quite literally, yeah. And it's like, you know, I like the.
They'll say it. I'm not going to go any further in that. Sometimes.
Well,
Sure. Well, and
they like to say it.
Yeah.
It's a good talking.
I like the analogy. The Romans used to have these special type of spears that would break when they got used, so the enemy couldn't throw them back. And those are the kind of tips of spears you are when you're in law enforcement.
Yeah.
They
Like-
throw it and you're super disposable.
Like
You've
we were
done
talking
your
about the body cameras.
Yeah.
No one was worried about a body camera out in the public.
No.
Everyone was worried about getting body cameras because they thought their admin was going to use it against them.
Yep.
Which is what happens
And
most.
it had nothing to do with misconduct.
No, not at all.
We were not concerned whatsoever.
Nobody was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, now I can't plant drugs."
Sure,
They're like,
sure,
"Oh man,
yeah.
now I can't have a conversation without my sergeant getting up my ass about something that I said."
Yep.
Oh,
I remember that
yeah.
they talked about bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
We had a conversation about, well, why are you going to the bathroom, you know, here
Yeah.
of all places? And I'm like, why? Because
Because it's private.
Yeah, like I'm marked out. It's not like I'm lying about where I'm at. It's a weird. So, anyways, that's
Because
it's
it's infinitely better than a stop and rob bathroom.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Which is where they wanted us to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, well, we want more officer presence in this place that gets robbed 15 times a day. So yeah.
Which I don't have. I don't have a problem with.
People don't. Go ahead.
Let
Sorry.
me say no, which I don't have a problem with. But you take off your Sam Brown and you look at that toilet, and you're like, I'm not putting my ass on that seat, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an insta hepatitis C or whatever the hell it is that you're gonna get from that.
Did you ever see the picture of the instructions for the general public on how to use a gas station
Yes.
bathroom? And it's got the guy that stands on the wall, his feet on the other wall, and it's just everywhere.
You know,
That's
When
what it
you eat
looks
that
like,
gas
man.
station food, dude, it's no
Yeah.
wonder why those bathrooms look the way they do.
Oh, you know what's so funny about that is bathrooms is that I don't know if any of you have a daughter, but if you guys ever have daughters, you realize how much you hate men, because when you're small and you got to take your daughter to go use the bathroom, and it's like you walk into that stall and you realize how dirty men really are. You're like, hey,
Yeah.
how did you miss the toilet? I mean, you like hit everything else
Completely missed.
but the toilet, and you're sitting there holding your daughter like this, like, oh, right?
Yeah.
And-
So gross.
And it's like, oh. All right, so I have a question about, you talked about, Josh and Bill, you guys talked about body cams.
Yeah.
Now, you're absolutely right. When we decided to get body cams, which at the time our chief had said he was never going to get body cams until the feds paid for it. He's like, I'm not buying body cams. I'm not buying body cams until the feds play it. And then we have the incident that hit the United States that we all know well, and and that was it. And all these chiefs were taking. You know what killed me, and maybe you guys can elaborate on this. Is I could not believe the amount of chiefs and sheriffs that took knees. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand why they were taking a knee, because
There's something about that.
you
One of
didn't
ours
do
did.
anything. We did not do anything wrong. This agency didn't do anything wrong. These officers didn't do anything wrong. And what upset me about that was you took a knee, and I felt it was like to just like show. I don't even want to comment on what was going through their mind, but to me it was just like you represent me. You represent me,
Yeah.
and I did not, and the men and women that work with me did not do anything wrong. And then all of a sudden we got body cams. Boom, body cams. It was like, oh, what happened to? We're going to wait for the feds to pay for it. And most officers that I work with, you guys said it best. They were not worried about the body cams as far as with the public because they already do their job flawlessly. It was what was admin going to do with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys want to talk a little? You guys want to brush on that a little bit?
Can I actually lead us off because I've got some information on that kind of fits perfectly for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, I was actually on live PD for a short stint.
I love that show.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I had a nice drug bust. I got a stolen gun on TV. It was great. The the problem is going behind the scenes a little bit. We got told by the brass that, oh, we're just going to let you do your job. Just go out there and be yourself. It's fine being you. Do what you do. It'll be okay. We're not going to micromanage. How do you think that went?
Yeah.
Oh, it went.
Yeah, I had one call where I was patting this dude down, and I felt, what felt like a bag of weed. He's like, oh, okay, I'll deal with that in a minute. So, hey, man, what's in that pocket? Nothing. Really, it doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like weed. What's in your pocket? Nothing. Okay, well, case saw all that, and my printing experience recognized what could potentially be an illegal substance. Yeah. Retrieved it, and when I pulled it out, it was like a tube sock pharmacy of like cocaine, meth, crack, weed. And I pulled out, and the exact words were "holy dog shit," and it just sort of fell out of my mouth. Like, okay, so I hooked the guy real quick. They didn't like the fact that I said that, so boom, kicked off the show. And that's just where it started. We got these, everybody that's ever since then. I'm not to toot my own horn, but I'm very looked up to by my the coworkers. I've been on my ship the longest. They're new guys. They look up to me, and I've gone to bat for a couple of them, risking getting suspended, saying no, he didn't screw up. He did what was right, and I'll back it 100%. And if you want to push the issue, I told him to do it, and it saved a couple of guys that almost got hanged by the administration. We got these body cameras, and like you guys talked about, guys weren't worried about, the usual jackassery and jokes to make on the side because, it's harmless, harmless shenanigans, just cheeky and fun. But the problem was the brass said the exact same thing, and I almost got in trouble because they said, oh, this is just for your protection so people can't say your misconduct and you weren't doing this. And like with the why'd you mute story, I sat in the back and I went, bullshit, and the chief was not happy. And you are absolutely right. That's you. As soon as we're on body cameras, you are put on a choker leash. You cannot say anything that goes against their views. You cannot do anything that's considered. The best way I can describe it is they wanted us to be robots. They wanted to show up on calls like, "Hello, sir. What is your problem today? Okay, have a nice day, sir," and leave.
Exactly.
And you can't do that. Like there's certain people that if I showed up and went, "Hello, man, could you explain to me what the problem is?" There's some people that'll literally go, "What in the world does the word problem mean?" All right. Hey, buddy, why shit's all fucked up today? All right, you see, the problem I got here is, like, there's just certain ways you have to talk to people that's appropriate for, like, doctors and educated people. And not to be discouraging, but yeah, exactly. You have to be a human being. You can talk to certain people at a certain level, but if you say, like, prognosis to a certain word, they're going to look at you, or a certain person, they're going to look at you like an antler's going out of your head. And if you don't talk like that community or that niche part of your community, you're going to be looked at as an outsider, and they're just not going to want to talk to you. They're going to think you're talking down to them, or they're going to think you're stupid, and you just have to rise. And our admin does not like the fact that sometimes you have to get obscene with your language. Sometimes you have to speak like a thesaurus, but it's just the nature of the beast. You have to do it. Otherwise, you just don't fit in.
I've always had a body camera from when I started, but I will give a shout out to one of my administrators. We've had situations where we're interacting with somebody and you have to talk to them on their level, and you go and talk to them on that level, and admin gets heartburn over it, and that I have an administrator that's gone to bat to people and been like, no, they had to talk to that person. That was the only way they were going to understand. Nothing came out of it, so
that's good. That's actually good because there is a reason why we talk to people. Here's the thing, and you mentioned a good thing, Mike, is what people don't understand. I mean, I just I cuss like a sailor. I mean, I just do, and
So do I.
and it actually takes a lot for me not to cuss here. It really, really does, because usually the F word for me is a verb, adjective, noun, describing noun, right?
For all situations.
Right? But what people understand is that we could do this, just like people, like suspects will size us up in the field. They don't realize that we size people up in the field as well. And yes, I, as a lieutenant, I don't want officers going out there and saying, hey, sit the fuck down, right? Or, hey, fucking grab the curb, whatever, as their first option. However, what I do realize, it may be their first option because the person, they have to gain control immediately. And like they taught all of us in the academy, what's the first step of command presence? Well, it's first us.
Yep.
Next is verbal. And if you want us to do, what they don't realize is that using foul language in the right way is actually true de-escalation. Because if I could stop some guy who is going to size me up and say, oh, this officer is a little bit smaller, or blah, 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 I'm going to challenge him a little bit, or he looks a little green around the ears. You may be able to, we all know this, everybody in this room knows this, is that we may be able to stop the force from being used by saying, hey, grab the fucking curb, shut the fuck up, I'm in charge. And I'm a firm believer of that. So yes, your admin, whoever did that for you, did you a solid, because yes, there are times that needs to, actually there's a lot of times, not just sometimes, there's a lot of times.
And shout out to Josh and Bill on this one, but a slight escalation of force is sometimes the best de-escalation tool.
Yeah.
And and not only that, but I mean, I've had to talk to people, a lot of administrators want us to say it like this, like, sir, can you please sit down for me, please? Sir, I need you to put your hands behind your back. And sometimes you have to go, hey, put your hands behind your fucking back right now.
Right.
And they'll go, oh, okay.
We just did a body cam breakdown of an officer-involved shooting in Dallas. This just happened. Yeah. And this guy, tries to run over an officer, goes through the parking lot, gets the car basically stuck.
Yeah.
And then when the officers try to approach, he completely mag dumps the officers.
Yep.
And then when the officers try to approach, he then gets out and runs. And then this one officer, practically almost by himself, not only pursues him, gets in the shooting, gets up to him, and by the time he's putting hands on this guy because he caught him, and he's putting a already fired gun up to this dude's temple, sir, can you please put your hands behind your back? I'm sorry, it's not going to be very effective in that specific instance.
No.
It's a weird.
Well, and the thing is, where we worked, the city that we worked in, had 40 when we worked there, it had 46 different gangs in it.
Yeah.
They weren't all big gangs. Yeah. But there was 46 gangs on file. We had a whole gang unit. We had a whole county interdiction unit for gangs. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to pull over a car full of gangbangers and say, sir, can I see your hands? Sir, can I see your driver's license? It's just not good. And I got in trouble a lot for cussing. Like, I never got paper, but I got plenty of conversations about being on body camera saying, sit the fuck down and shut up.
Right.
Like,
The best
they
example,
did it. So...
The best example y'all can ever watch is the Key and Peele skit where he comes to the robber, he gets in the car, he has the gun, and the cop goes up to him with his gun drawn on him. He's like, please drop the gun, or whatever he kept saying. And the robber's looking at him like, this guy has no control. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. And then he just doesn't listen to him. So definitely, if anybody wants to see what we're talking about, look up the Key and Peele skit. Cop versus robber, and you're gonna be like, so if that cop would have had a better escalation of force, like, hey sir, drop the gun and get out of the car, drop the fucking gun and get out of the, and went more aggressive. Control is a necessary thing. You need to have control, otherwise it becomes dangerous.
Agreed.
And it's funny you should say that, because I pulled my department policy up, and one of the things that can be, so here's one of the subsections, and I'll read the discipline section after that. It's pretty.
Oh, here we go.
This involves social media, which includes right this second for me right now. Speech containing obscene or sexually explicit language. Well, fuck. Images, statements, forms of speech that ridicule, malign, disparage, or otherwise express bias against any race, any religion, or any protected class of individuals. I don't know what a protected class of individuals is. I thought we were all human, but fuck me, I guess.
Who knows?
Damn, did it again.
Dude.
Yeah.
Engaging in prohibited speech noted herein may provide grounds or undermining or impeaching an officer's testimony in criminal proceedings. My police department personnel thus sanctioned are subject to discipline up to and including termination of office.
Damn, that's insane.
So the fact that I just fuck 3 times now is enough for me to be terminated if the department wanted me to be.
Hey,
Sure.
Hey, listen here. Listen here, butthole.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, damn. Let me just turn my badge, my gun, my drop bag, my plant bag of weed.
Yeah.
All of it.
Well, and the problem is it's discretionary. It's 1000% discretionary on behalf of the administrators within that police department. It's not like there's because we talked a lot, and as much as I had some of my frustrations with my old department, I do think that they really did try to have like procedural justice, and the concept for that, the people that don't know, is that you treat everyone equally under the eyes of the law. And so there was some times where it's a domestic, it is what it is. If you meet the elements of the offense, I'm sorry, you're going to jail. If you're a DWI, could I get you a ride? Sure. But you're a DWI. If I'm going to arrest somebody for being drunk driving, you're going to jail. Like I'm going to treat everyone the exact same, regardless of protected. Yeah. We don't have protected classes. We have people, and we, administer the law that way.
Thank you.
When it comes to internal politics,
my gosh,
it's whatever.
Insane.
I feel like it's a dice roll. You'll sit there and it's like
a
fucked up game of Dungeons and Dragons where you're sitting there like, let's see.
You'd be crazy.
This guy, this guy's over here talking about death to cops, but that's protected speech. But he used the F-bomb one time in some weird, random, obscure thing. Let's roll the dice and see. Fired, or are we like making him unemployable for the rest of his life?
The problem
is
is
the craziest thing, and what will happen to one officer for one bit of conduct and to another officer for something almost completely unrelated is insane. Yeah. And even though they codify it within the confines of general orders, like it's completely discretionary
to the administration.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And so that you get held to a super high standard when you first get in, and then the higher you get in administrators, that standard just kind of, until you can do whatever, you basically can do no wrong.
The good old boys club, yeah.
If you're high up and you screw up, they take everything you did and throw it all.
Well,
this
so this is my thinking here. I know, Mike, you're gonna hold that thought. Here's I'll give you the admin perspective on that right now. Here's what I don't like is you guys have, and I understand that. I'm not even including me with you guys anymore, but an officer has, as we know, a millisecond to make a decision. A millisecond, of if he or she is going home, and that does not even involve just even using your gun. That can involve using a taser, pepper ball, a rear wrist lock, whatever that may be, a punch to the face, whatever that may be. I, as an admin, now get to sit on my nice, cushy office with my hot cup of coffee, with the control temperature of 72 degrees in my office, with my feet up, and I get to Monday Night Quarterback you, and I get to say, oh my gosh, and I get to look at your body cam footage and everything around you, and we all know. And here's what pisses me off about what we forget. It's a fight or flight. Fight or flight, something that we cannot control, this whole bullshit of we got to be like, oh, right, well, fight or flight, the science is there, says that my perspective goes from this to this. And all that shit out here you don't see, but I get to see on a body cam footage, and I get to Monday Night Quarterback you like no fucking tomorrow. And we don't take that into effect of your emotions. Like I just watched a thing from on the news about LAPD. They're saying that the officer had a right to shoot the suspect. The first 4 rounds were good. The last 2 were not good. It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't understand what that means, because I don't believe this female officer knew she shot 6 rounds. I think she just shot. And now she's being crucified. And I know you guys, I'll have to send you a link to the video so you guys can actually break it down and talk about it.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
But I wish we and here's the problem that we did. Here's where I think law enforcement fucked up. First of all, we should have got the PIO for the fire department. Because here's the fire department, right? They're heroes, right? We all know they save a fucking cat in a tree, and oh my god, they can't do anything wrong, right? Oh my gosh, America's heroes, right? The fuckers sleep 24 hours, okay? They sleep. Our officers are, and it's like there's like a brush fire, and the hills are burning, right? And they turn the fire, they extinguish the fire, and they're heroes, right? Well, it's like, hey, people, have you ever realized that for the forest to grow, it needs to burn? So, we get blah, blah, blah. But anyways, here's the fire department PIO. It's going to be a bad brush season this year because we had too much water, or we had too much rain, right? And then when we go into a drought, we're going to have a bad brush season because we didn't have enough water. They won regardless, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we did not get that PIO. We should have hired that PIO, right? But anyways, here's what our chiefs did back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even today. An officer does something, it's caught on whatever, and here's the chief. I cannot comment on that right now because it's an ongoing investigation. No! Let's tell our story. Let's say what happened and say this is what we see today. It could change.
Yeah.
And give the reasons why we do what we do. Let's tell people why we use a baton, why we use a taser, why we use this, and blah, 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 blah. So people start to understand that. But we don't. We sit there and we let everyone else make up their narrative, and then the officer's crucified in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately.
You nailed it. We actually had an incident go viral for my city's department, and it was the most pathetic fucking thing on the face of the earth. And I can say that because if I get found out, the PIO knows I don't like him because he lied to me about the live PD thing. I asked him why I was taken off. He straight up lied to my face why I was removed. He said, "Oh, we're just trying to rotate officers. Not the chief didn't like what you said, so we pulled you." But this incident happened on like a Thursday night, maybe. I don't remember exactly. It was. I'm not going to give time, so I can't dox myself. But it happened like on a Thursday night or something. So there's time the next day to do it. Yeah. But the time that video was gaining fuel like a wildfire, our PIO sat with both thumbs up his ass and let this thing get out of control until it had something like 5 to 10 million views. Our department was getting inundated with fucking calls of people calling for this officer's head for something that was totally justified. Like, basically, to put it in perspective, he basically tackled a hostage taker with a gun and took him into custody without shooting him. Levels of, holy shit, that was awesome what you did. But because some people got their feelings hurt, this court of public opinion and this bullshit kept going on and on and on. And instead of the PIO going, wait, hold on, no, here's the body camera. Here's what actually happened. Not this 2-second from the side ring doorbell bullshit furry thing. Nope. It got out of fucking control. And by the time that he released the PIO on that, it was done. And we still, to this day, on our Facebook department page, still get comments about it. We still get people that call from like fucking Barcelona that say, "Oh, you need to fire that officer for what he did." You don't even fucking live in our country. Fuck off. But it's insane. Like, the PIO thing is huge. And if you don't have a good one to get on top of it, be like, no, shut up. You're wrong. Well, respectfully.
And
this is
why do police departments wait so long when something happens?
The
cell phone footage is out there 10 minutes after it happens. And police departments want to wait a month.
And I think the reason is because of IA, and if it's an actual, like, which I don't believe in. If it's an officer involved shooting and the dude's dead, fuck, you're not going to court. So just get that stuff out there and let people see what actually happened. Let them see the dude taking the gun and aiming it underneath his armpit that you can't see because the shaky barista at Starbucks didn't capture it. Show him the guy going, "I'm going to fucking kill you and your friends." Show him all the stuff that you can't hear through that glass window in the restaurant. Show them that stuff. Let it get out there before people go, "He shot him because he was wearing a BLM shirt."
Yeah.
Like, you have to get ahead of that stuff. And like you said, I think the reason they do it is, they don't want to take an ongoing investigation or potential court proceeding, which is bullshit because the information from other people is already out there. So what does it matter?
Yeah, so what's the difference? Why not go to
exactly what I was about to say?
Josh and Bill, I'm gonna send you a clip, or I'm gonna send you a link to my former police chief. It's great. I loved him. We had a use of force incident, and what was awesome was the press was trying to crucify the officer, right? And because they had the pictures, of what he looked like after the booking and blah blah blah. Anyways, our chief, he did a solid, man. I got to admit, he wasn't a very good public speaker. He just did not like to get in front of anything, right? I mean, even at council meetings, he just did not like to talk, right? He actually says it's an ongoing investigation, and I'm just going to summarize here, but he says the suspect. He goes, "We just got the labs back. The suspect was high on meth." and basically saying the suspect was in the wrong. And he says, and we're going to additionally charge the suspect with being under the influence. And what was great was it just shut the whole thing down. And he got in front of it, and he got attacked a little bit. But at the end of the day, because I ended up going, I think right after that, or no, a year later, I got assigned to IA. And this was one of the cases that I was working on. At the end of the day, the private attorney that was suing the city, eventually they dropped their client, and then they referred that client to another law firm, and then that law firm dropped the client, and that law firm dropped the client. This guy, if he would have pled out, he would have served less time if he would have pled out than he actually sit there waiting trying to sue the police department. And in the day, he got $0. And but it was all because our chief finally got in front of it and said, look, our officers didn't do anything wrong. They were attacked. And then when, like I said, it was like 2 weeks later when we got the labs back, he goes, they were attacked also by someone high on methamphetamine and PCP. So yes. I'll send that to you guys so you guys can do a breakdown of that. I think, Mike, you were going to say something?
Yeah, well, so one, I'm going to say, if you want to see the PR master at work in law enforcement, Grady Judd, the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, this guy.
That man is my spirit animal. If I ever, God forbid, no offense to you, Chris, if I ever become admin, I'm putting a picture of him in my office. Okay, to remind me that's who I need to be.
God, he's so good too. Why'd you shoot him so many times? Because evil can never be dead enough.
That's right. That is like the textbook. That's who you need to be. But my biggest heartburn when it comes to admin and Monday morning quarterbacking, Chris, you touched on it a little bit, is my issue is this. In court, you have to take everything from the standpoint of objective reasonableness. You know, it's what the officer saw through his eyes at the time. It's not, the thing, it's not, even though there could have been something he could have done different, if he didn't see it through his eyes or he didn't consider that, you can't use that against him court-wise. And it gets me so frustrated being on the receiving end of Monday morning quarterbacking. It gets me so frustrated when an administrator sits down and looks at that footage and Monday morning quarterbacks and doesn't look at it from that objective, reasonable, standpoint. He goes, well, you could have done this, you could have done that. Dude, my adrenaline's up here.
Mm-hmm.
My vision's like this. I didn't see that, or I didn't think of that. Come on,
And that's something I think Chris touched on when he said when you get the tunnel vision. How many shootings do we get into where a lot of our rounds are hitting like the hand or close to where the firearm was, and we go, oh shit, and we just focus in on that gun versus center mass. That's something that takes years to train out of, but almost every officer involved shooting, I notice that when they're shooting, I mean, of course, once you get that adrenaline dump, your holes go from this to like this when you're just trying to survive, but I've noticed that a lot of the times, and when I was in LA for my certification a few years ago, there was a video they showed and the after action report where like the guy was holding the gun like this, and almost all the rounds were like this side of his face, this side of his chest, into his hand. The gun was hit once. Like even the operators that were there hit the damn gun almost as much as they hit his body because they all saw the gun. Went, oh shit, gun. And instead of aiming center mass, they aimed for the threat that they saw. So, like you said, why didn't you shoot him why did you shoot him in the leg? Why did they shoot him in the head? Because the guy's doing this. We see the gun, and instinctively we know that's the bad thing, and we unintentionally aim for the bad thing. And that's just where our rounds happen to go. So now sometimes, and a lot of times, we get center mass shots. But yeah, you guys are absolutely right. It's not just the tunnel vision on that person; it's also what that threat is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and kind of what I wanted to point out with all of this conversation is it's not like there's clear instances, and we do this all the time when we have breakdowns where I'm like, okay, this is a shitty job being done by a shitty officer. There's examples. There's plenty of examples of that. However, in a lot of these officers involved shooting or critical incidences or any of this stuff, the cost of the officer being wrong might be their life.
Yeah.
I mean, you really got to think about that. Like for us to sit back and look at it, even for us, I 9 times out of 10, I'm like, this is a pretty shitty situation. Like, this is a short straw. 9 times out of 10, when we're breaking down an officer-involved shooting, I'm like, yeah, this is a shitty circumstance. Or we had one where the guy, like a 40-yard shot with a handgun, in a hostage situation, I'm like, I don't know that I could have
Yeah.
made that shot. Personally, I don't know. You can have all the conversations you want about tactics.
I wouldn't have taken it with a handgun.
I
That's what I'm
absolutely
getting
fucking
at.
40 yards. I can barely make 25 yards. Come on
Well,
now.
that's what I'm getting at. Well, and then not just to think you could do it, but in the moment with the adrenaline, with whatever, with knowing what they could do, like all of that runs through your head when you're leveling a loaded firearm at a human being. All of that's running through your mind. You're like, am I gonna go to prison? Is this person gonna kill me? Because clearly, I think they're a deadly threat.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to die. We joked about I had already pre-donated for like dogs or for stabbings. My left hand was the one I was willing to give up to buy myself a half extra second to either make sure that my shot counted
Or get
that
some
I
distance.
Yeah, exactly. And so like until you're in that situation, and especially if you're an administrator evaluating this, take that into account, like you're saying. Is it reasonable for me to expect that this officer is going to go like wanted style and whip the bullet around the corner and know exactly in that moment that, oh yeah, I need him to completely verbalize his use of force as he's doing it.
Well, and how many of these administrators have been in a use of force?
Exactly. That's
Ever in
kind of
their
what I'm
life.
getting at. It's like
They went to sergeant at 4 years in,
Yeah.
and then they got promoted to lieutenant, and they've
Yeah.
sat behind a desk for 15 years.
You want to hear something that'll really chap your ass?
Yes.
Our captain of patrol spent 1 year on the road, went to detectives, and then got made a captain of patrol.
Man,
He
that'd be
doesn't
like
even know
me
what
doing
patrol
that.
is.
Think there's a disconnect anywhere in that chain?
Doesn't even know what patrol is.
I can't even imagine going to sergeant right now.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get promoted to sergeant right now, which everybody on my department for the most part loves me. And I told them I'm putting in like yes, because they know I'm the kind of person to call and say, he said something that hurt my feelings. Okay, get an emotional band-aid and call back in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
my
you're,
man.
but you're 8 years in. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You
That
have
makes
the
sense.
experience
Yeah.
to lead patrol officers. Like,
And no offense to our second lieutenant here, but I think that's where a lot of disdain comes from. I mean, I'm not going to bullshit you. You're a grown-ass man, but you like a lot of butter bars get hit with a lot of hate because you get a lot of guys that spent like 5 years in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then you come in all of a sudden in the picture and you're calling the shots. It's like, man, fuck this guy. He doesn't know what goes on. He doesn't know the real struggles. And it's just that struggle of getting put there, and you've got to nurture those relationships, and you got to get ahead of it and go, you know what? I'm going to swallow my pride. You guys are right. I haven't been deployed yet. I haven't done this, but we're going to work together to make this fucking work. Like you do have to take that leadership role and go, you're right. And we're going to work as a team. I'm not a boss. I'm a leader. And that's the way you do it. The problem is, I don't really think we get that here. Like it's
You get more bosses.
Or even just like not having the humility to realize like you don't know what you don't know.
well, it's like they get promoted and they're like, I'm a god at this department.
I know
sure.
everything.
Yeah, everybody loves me.
That's where it really
Everybody
starts.
sharpening their pitchforks.
Yeah,
And I will say this, and this is a shout out to Chris on this, and this is a silly analogy of it, but we all get into Ready or Not last Tuesday, and I was like, hey, you're calling the shots? He's like, fuck no. I played this game for like 5 minutes.
I think I'm done with this.
Like, no. But like imagine if you had leaders within those communities have that same like, hey, I haven't arrested somebody in 10 years. How about you tell me what you think?
Yeah.
I know what policy is. I'll tell you where our policy sits on this, but you tell me, because you're the one ultimately when you're the dumbass holding the shield, or when you're the dumbass kicking the door, you're the most at risk.
Well, in our lieutenants, if we had a critical incident, our lieutenants were half a mile away, standing at the back of a Tahoe, trying to command things over the radio when they don't have any idea what's going on.
Right.
At the actual scene.
I can't tell you how many times you're at rifle point with a guy trying to burn an entire complex down.
And you have a
with
lieutenant
propane
yelling
tank.
at you who's
and
not
he's
even...
like, why are you guys getting on the radio? And you're like, please clear all traffic. I might shoot this. Chill.
Yeah.
There's a sad story about managing from away a police department locally. And well, actually, I'll just say it because this was taught to us in the academy. West Covina, they had you could actually look up the story. There's a part of the freeway that's named after this officer, and I for the life of me cannot remember his name. Anyways, he responds to some type of disturbance. There's a guy there, high as high can be, and he attacks the officer. Well, he's he finally gets one of those, the stakes that hold trees, like a brand new tree up.
Yeah.
He has that, and this is caught by witnesses. This is pre-body cam, pre-cell phone footage.
Yeah.
But he's hitting the officer over the back with it, and so people are watching. And the officer has his gun drawn. Here was the thing: is I heard the breakdown from the actual chief, but the chief said the officer was just one of those guys that couldn't take a life, and didn't realize how much danger he was in. So the officer is trying to put distance between him and the suspect. Suspect's hitting him with this. Well, eventually the suspect decides to go inside the car. He rips the shotgun out of the shotgun rack, but the shotgun rack's still attached to it. Well, unbeknownst to everyone's responding, the suspect is able to rack around and blows the officer's head off and kills the officer. Well, another officer arrives. They don't see their down officer. Another officer arrives, a motor officer, I believe, and I don't know why he got on the radio, but he gets on the radio and says he's going to take the shot because he says, hey, the suspect has a shotgun, the rack is still on it. Yeah. Well, a sergeant not on scene says, don't take that shot. He can't rack around in the, he already had racked around and already had killed an officer. So they don't. They eventually take this guy into custody, and I believe he's still rotting in prison. But the sad part about it is that this sergeant not on scene doesn't even, the officer should have just taken the shot if he had the shot, right? But anyways, it finds out this suspect had a history of in our state it's called 148 PC. It's a fighting with an officer. Had a history of 148s. Well, what they didn't know is he actually walked over to the officer and ripped his badge off of his body while he was dying. And this guy had a history of getting into 148s with other officers, and his MO was always ripping their badge off. That was his thing. I own your badge, basically. So he's always ripping the badge off of all these officers. Yeah. This guy's now, like I said, I believe he's still alive, rotting in prison. But this goes back to, you're not on scene. Shut the hell up. The officers that are on scene, let them handle it. That's the thing, is that they got the eyes. And I think I forget which one of you said it. I got the policy. Yes, I'll tell you what policy says, but that's right now, we're not worried about policy. Do what you got to do to secure the scene. Make it code 4 so it's safe for everybody, and then we'll talk later. But you guys got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and that's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go
I was going to say, even being on SWAT, I generally don't make tactical decisions over the radio on my way there. The only time I've done it in my career was a guy had a hilariously bad mental break, and he'd taken a shotgun and blown holes in the ceiling, and his wife was freaking out in the house. She doesn't want to leave him, but she doesn't want to stay, kind of thing. Basically kind of turned herself into a Polish hostage in a roundabout way. So these guys go up on scene, they show up in the front door while this guy's still ripping rounds to the ceiling and the floor. Jeez. And they're on the radio saying, we don't know where he's at, and I think he's still shooting the floor. She's in the doorway, and I'm sitting there listening to this going, what the fuck, guys? So finally they say, look, if you guys can, grab her, drag her to cover, and get the hell out of that house. There's no other people in there. Radio silence for about 30 seconds. I'm like, shit, they just got in a shooting. And then finally they say, yeah, we got her back behind our engine block. We're posted off the house. I'm like, thank God. But we've had people go on the radio and go, hey, if he does this, can I shoot him? Mm-hmm. And I go on the radio, and I just, before Sergeant Can, I was like, if you have the means, and it's legal, if you have the legal means, do it. Don't ask for permission. Like, you can't ask me, hey, can I use my baton? Hey, can I use my taser? I mean, we'll be next to each other, like, okay, I've got non-lethal, but don't ask if you can take a shot, because that'd be no different than me seeing somebody walking down the street with a latte in their hand, and I get on the radio and go, hey, can I take a shot, Sarge?
Yeah.
He's in his office going, what do you got? Like, Chris touched on it. If you're not on scene, you're a grown-ass man. You took this job. You know if you have the justification to use deadly force. You can't get on the phone and be like, hey, yeah, this guy's shooting rounds at me, Sarge. Can I shoot back? Like, what the fuck?
Customer service?
Yeah.
Well, this goes to, like, I think too many people watch TV as well. So as a SWAT commander, here's what people don't understand. My sniper team, my Tango team, Sierra Tango, they don't have, I mean, like on TV, I got the suspect, No. They got rules of engagement. We all know, we all have the same rules of engagement, right? It's codified in case law. We all know that force reasonably necessary to blah, 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 that we all learned in the academy, right? So Sierra Tango, if they got a shot, they're going to tell me I took the shot. Of course, I'm going to know they took the shot because I'm going to have the distinct sound of a rifle. But they don't have to tell me they don't have to ask permission to take a shot. They have their rules of engagement like any other SWAT operator does. So yeah, you said it right, SWAT theory. It is absolutely right, because they got it. If they see, like, we have a hostage situation and they see the hostage taker there, and their rules of engagement say take the shot, then I expect them to take the shot, and we'll talk about all of that later. So yes, there is no asking for permission. Do what you got to do.
And I'll say this when it comes to that, and I think where this is coming from is this is a systemic symptom of micromanagement, and this is a symptom of officers that are being by law given discretion to do certain things, but they're getting written up for doing vehicle traffic violations. It's like you can't do those.
But also, how bad is it going to look if you ask for permission, then you take that shot, then it's determined that for whatever reason it's a bad shot.
Yeah.
Now you're screwed. Because you're going to get tore up in court. Like, oh, you weren't sure? You had to ask for permission?
Well, and on top of that, like I said, I think it's the symptom is these are officers that aren't getting enough training. These are officers that aren't getting the time really to truly develop on patrol. Like, they're not, as rookies, they're not getting enough time with senior officers. Like, you got to imagine, and like,
or there's no senior officers on the shift.
That's what kind of what I was getting at is my first year on patrol, most of the officers I was working with 10, 15, 12-year guys. I had a couple that were like in the 6 to 8 year range. I learned, this is after field training, I learned a ton. Literally 2020.
Yeah, way more.
I was the most senior officer on shift with like 2.5 years on. And I was like, that shouldn't be the case at all.
Yeah, we had brand new officers coming up to him and I asking us how to do things. We're like, I've barely been here 10 seconds longer than you. And for, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And for like a month, I'd tell him, go find a corporal. And then I realized, like, oh, shit.
There isn't any.
That's me. And
here's the thing, too, is going back to your story there, Chris, from that local agency. So officer, said that he was going to shoot the guy, and the sergeant came over the radio and said, no. Okay, well, if that guy had racked another round and killed another officer, what would have been the narrative then when that officer had a shot, I'm sure, and could have taken it? Or B on that, let's say he did take that shot and shot the guy after the sergeant said no, and before they found the dead officer, how was that sergeant going to act when he arrives on scene and goes, I told you not to shoot him?
Dereliction of duty or insubordination, so on and so forth.
Here's your retirement papers.
So it's, I don't know. I think it's a hard place. And like I said, we can speak a little more freely on this because we're out. But I think that, like...
Lucky.
It is a...
Hey, we got screwed over for SWAT school twice. So if we had made SWAT, we might still be cops.
Yeah. But it was hard towards the tail end there.
I agree.
But like it's hard to try to continue to do the job, especially like I said, when you're working in like a really, really high crime area. It's one thing when it's like kind of annoying to have a policy violation thrown at you because you did a building search wrong or whatever, but you're like, dude, I have people trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I have people like actively organizing and through Facebook groups and stuff that are trying to kill me. I'm sorry that I have to interact with certain people and stuff, but where all this crime is happening, where all these murders are occurring, that you're like, we need directed patrols. You're like, cool. Half of these houses here have AKs pointed at me through the window. Like, what do you want from me? It's not my imagination either. Like, we're watching this play out in real time. And our fear is every single time you did anything, there was the, circus that was the, administrative oversight of that. And it's not because you were worried about them evaluating how you did. It was just so inconsistently done.
Yeah, it could be the same call for two different officers, and you get a different result each time.
Sure. And depending on who did your use of force evaluation, depending on who did whatever, they would evaluate it. And it's like how they woke up that day. I'll have one that's like way more in the gray that nothing happened on. And there's one where like saving some 4-year-old kid's life, and now you have PTSD, and you had an officer involved injury and stuff like that.
Well, and also
you said was that one time.
It was how they felt about you.
That's what I'm getting.
It was not objective anymore.
That's what I'm getting.
It was, oh, this was so-and-so officer. Well, fuck him. Like, and so, guess what? This is it. And we got our shot.
Yeah, and I think it makes you bad at the job. And I think kind of what and as SWATtheory was pointing it out, and as even Chris was pointing it out, like, these officers should know. And in a lot of instances, they do know, but they have a fear to act.
Yeah.
They have a fear to act on the things that they know they can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Or what's worse is you have burned out all of those officers that have left, and all you're left with is this just like shell of a crew that just simply doesn't have the experience, the training, and so on and so forth to execute that job. Yeah. And so like it's a right now, that's kind of why we even started this and why we love having conversations like this. And I think why these conversations need to happen more often is that is what's actually occurring right now. When you talk about we need more training, I was like, you can't keep the officer there long enough to get the training.
Yeah.
And even if he has all the training in the world, once you put him in there, he's got zero fucking experience. What do you expect him to do this the first time his life's in actual danger?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I pointed a gun at somebody versus the last time I pointed a gun at somebody was very different. The first traffic stop I did versus the last one I did was so different. And so it's not that my training got any better. It's I was able to back that up with the experience of surviving the job for that long or doing that job for that long. And you cannot supplement that. And so until we protect the old crusty guys like SWATtheory that are in there, or you know what I mean? You don't get to be at his point without having something in that system keeping him there.
Yeah.
And so that he can then duplicate
it's
that
SWAT.
experience.
SWAT's
It's SWAT, let's be honest. Or even like, again, where you have people like Chris, like you have to allow people to sit in administrative positions and leverage a little bit of discretion on saying, I know this is going to lose some brownie points with the mayor's office, but I'm trying to protect good cops right now.
Well, that's the problem. Somebody's always going to be mad.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But they have to accept that. It's going to be mad. The brush fire is going to fucking happen. I'm sorry, but if you want anyone good to do anything about it, you have to protect that. It's a valuable individuals, the right training with the right person at the right time. And they just will start to be there less often with the culture that we have right now in policing. And I think that's
willing to fight the fire. And
that's what I mean.
The supervisors that care about the reputation are typically the ones that are the problems.
Yeah.
Well, yes, 100. Oh God, 100% right. It's like it goes. Oh my gosh. Oh God, you hit the nail of SWAT. That's what fucking drives me crazy. It's like, be a supervisor. You know what? You're not there to be their friend. Be a supervisor. They want a supervisor. Men. We want to be led. Everybody wants to be led, and be the best supervisor you can be. And I tell new supervisors this. It's like, you gotta first of all understand you don't know everything. Okay, you gotta realize you don't. But surround yourself with people who do know. Well, here's the thing. It's kind of like we talk about the SWOT analysis. You know. Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Do that to yourself. When you become a supervisor, do a SWOT analysis on yourself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? And what are my threats? I know I'm a person that doesn't like conflict. I don't like to yell at other people. In fact, when we have other agencies that are trying to like punk our officers, like, you know, because we have to deal with the county sheriff booking process and all this type of stuff. They will like, oh, we're not accepting prisoners from 2 to 4. And it's like, when did this fucking rule come up, right? And yeah, so it's like, so I understand that. So I actually have to like get into battle mode when I'm going to call another agency up, because I get very visceral. I get very like sick to my stomach. Like, oh, okay, I got to actually become someone that I'm not. But I tell people, like the other day I was having a conversation with the sergeant. I told the sergeant, you know, the reason why I've been successful at this department is not what I've done, it's by the people I surround myself with. I surround myself by successful people who know what they're doing, and what I lack, they have. And together we're a team. So I, as a lieutenant, I've had people ask me a question, and I look at them like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question, but give me a few minutes and I'll get you an answer. And I tell them, I said, hey, you know, I had to call so-and-so and this is what they said. I don't even take ownership for learning the answer. I take ownership and finding the expert. And that's the thing, is that there's no way. There's just so many different scenarios. Like I was never a dope guy. I did not like arresting dopers because they were just dirty, you know, and it was just like, you know, it's just,
I love getting dopers.
Yeah, and you know what?
They're my favorite.
And after you look at 100 assholes, you know, and tell them to bend over and cough, you're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. You know, it's like, So, but we, as a supervisor, as a young supervisor, that's what I tell them to do, is that find where you are weak at and develop that. And what is it that will make you fail? Your threats. And work on it. And no one's going to expect you to be 100%, but if you can do that, you'll be a better... And going back to what SWAT said, if you're more worried about what your people think of you, then you're going to fail. Because you're always going to try to be their friend, and you're never going to hold them accountable. You're never going to be that leader that they want. And you should want to inspire people. Here's my analogy I told someone one day. When I go to war, I don't want to go to war with a bunch of people behind me because they have to be behind me. I want to go to war with people that want to follow me into war. Not because they respect me that way. That's what I want. And that's what I strive for. That's what, it's like, yeah, I have institutional power because they put a bar on my collar. But I don't want institutional power. I want influence. That's what I want. I want to know that I'm influencing people by who I am, not what I am, but by who I am. And I've had people come up to me and say, hey, anyways, I'm not going to toot my horn on that, but it's just, if that's what supervisors should do.
The best way I've ever heard it, and I'll never forget it, was one of my, one of my best friend that was there when we had, as I've mentioned before, the coworker pretty much die in our hands. We got to a point in our relationship, he goes, I never thought I'd say this to somebody, but you're the kind of person that I would follow into hell, not because you order me to, but because I want to go with you, break everything, and take a shit on Satan's desk. I'm like, okay. Well, I think I think I know where we stand, and just like you said, I try to get along with everybody in the department. They know they can come to me with almost anything. We don't have a corporal rank, but I'm basically the stopgap between the sergeants, the other patrol, and the training officers, as they always come to me with questions and shit. And the sergeants love it because I'm generally pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, man, that was pretty stupid, but at least you had a good idea and you thought for yourself. So let me correct that real quick. You're on the right track, but try doing this instead. And if you're still not certain, run it by a sergeant. And if he says that's a stupid idea, where'd you come up with that? Tell him I told you to say it. It's fine. But there's got to be times you got to just tell people, no, dude, that's stupid. Don't do it. And even if they get mad at you, like, no, you fucked up. Yeah, I know we had beers Saturday night last week, but no, that was stupid. You fucked up. Don't do that anymore.
But
And
you're doing them a service by doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of just going along with it, being like, oh, I don't know, man. Oh, I guess that sergeant's a dick.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I disagree with it too, but it is what it is. Like, it's people that go out and they jam people up. They play the 5 million questions and go, oh, well, now you lied to me, so you're entering an investigation under arrest. I'll pull them aside and go, look, dude, before you lose your car, your house, and your dog, stop doing this stuput shit. Yeah, I know you're trying to make an arrest, but you're a fucking asshole right now, and you're making the rest of us look like dickheads on social media.
Yes.
Stop it. And then, they get butthurt for like a week, and they come back to go, yeah, you're right. So this is absolutely right. You have to be a leader. Yeah, there's times to be friendly and make jokes with the crew and keep morale high, but if somebody doesn't step in and like people say, the police investigated themselves and they found themselves clear of all wrongdoings. Like you have to get ahead of that shit and be forthwith and look, dude, if you're in the right, I'll go to hell and back with you, and we'll go back again if we need to. But if you screwed up, you screwed up. Just take your lumps, move on. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh well, you did good. You tried. No, like Chris said, there's got to be those times. I hate confrontation too, but you have to step up there and you have to correct it.
Yeah.
And that's just what I think Jocko Willink put it best with the best relationships are made from the worst situations. Like if something sucks, like the guys who are in the military, it sucks being in boot camp, but you build those bonds. It sucks getting shot at, but when it happens, it eventually gets to the point where you look at your friends like, he tried to kill us. Like it gets to that point where you just build those relationships from those shitty things. And if everything's easy and you're constantly saying, no, it'll be okay. Or no, it's okay. Here's your participation trophy. No, you're right. The sergeant's a meanie bad man. It'll be okay. It's okay. I think you did okay. No, you have to go, no, stupid. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. SWAT's out. SWAT theory's out.
Yeah, guys.
Well, we're on standby, so I might be jetting out of here in a minute.
Hey.
Well, hey, on that note, I was going to tell you guys, let's go to 12:30 and we'll cut it. We'll cut it at 12:30 if you guys are okay with that. Is that good?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and so Chris, there may be a captain position at my department. I'm gonna slide you an application. Okay, just slide it over there your way.
Listen, Chris is gonna make the smart decision and retire in Texas.
Oh yes.
I'm just saying that captain position. Man.
I want to go back. I want to go back to the United States of America, and that it's in Texas.
That's right.
North Carolina is part of the U.S. All right. Look at this beautiful state.
I know.
Right
Yeah.
What state was that? I can't even tell. little.
What was that?
You know what?
Yeah, throw it out
On a
there.
mad
We can
North
own compressors
Carolina.
here, so
Is it-
just
is
put
it-
it out there. You should come where I am.
Is it North Carolina a flyover state?
He's got it.
Do they even have an airport?
Do they have airports
We
there?
have airports. Yes,
Do you guys
we
have? Do
airports.
you guys have running water there?
Most places. Some places.
They just boil the salt out of the seawater. It's all right.
There
Okay,
you go.
so
Look,
let me
look, we can make fire here
okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you have snow there?
sometimes, but very
fuck
rarely.
no. Oh.
Very
Fuck
rarely.
no.
What,
See
like
his
one
face?
day a year in Texas, we might see flurries.
Yeah, it's like I can't go anywhere where
That's it.
I have to shovel snow to get out of my driveway. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most years we don't get any, and then every once in a while we'll get like a couple of days of really thin snow, and that's it. That's gone.
Yeah.
Producer ones if they go around.
Yeah, they go around North Carolina.
They don't even
Wow.
fly over.
Hey,
No.
I don't trust a state that can't figure out north and south and like just
Right? Hey, we're actually where's the DMZ of South and North Carolina?
DMZ.
I don't know if that'll
Unless
ever
he didn't-
happen.
he
They try
didn't
to arrest
contest
them. You just hear banjos playing in the hillside. Like, we should
Yes.
probably stop it.
Yeah, I do appreciate that though. But yeah, you know what's funny is actually April 1st I can finally retire April 1st is my 25th year. I can retire. So
we're close.
we're close. Yeah, in fact,
17 more years.
oh my god! And, you know what? Oh, I was thinking. Hey, as I look at Sternal, everybody, regardless what happens in the next 10 years, we got to make a promise that we're all going to come back 10 years from now and take a look at what SternalJet looks like 10 years later.
Years older.
That'd be interesting.
Hey, he's going to be
wrinkled, be on his third marriage, have a crippling alcohol addiction.
So if you want a microcosm of what it looks like really how much the job affects you, if you look on our and shout out to producer Juan because he did a really good job of capturing this. We were still on patrol for our first
When
couple
we started,
filmings of our YouTube channel, and you can just see Bill and I had mustaches. We're rocking the SternalJet
Just
staff.
mustache.
We're sitting there like it's like 2:00 in the morning, and we're chit chatting or whatever, and like the second we're gone, like you can tell within a week of us leaving patrol, we're like full of life and like the bag.
Yeah, Juan said we got our soul back.
I
Some of
bet.
my hair came back.
I bet.
It was wild. It's different. You don't realize how hard the job truly is until you're not doing it anymore.
Mhm.
And there's a PTSD conversation, a lot of other stuff they're going to talk about. But there's a price you pay to do that job. It's one of the coolest things I ever did in my life. But like at the same time, I think if we knew what the tab was prior to taking the bid, I think a lot of us would have hesitated a little bit more.
It's funny you say that because, like, my wife, she wants to be a social worker, right? And yeah, so when I started the job, it's funny because when I first started the job, I'd always come home, I'd be excited to share the calls that I had, be like, hey, yeah, this is what I shared, this is what I experienced, blah blah blah. About like 6 to 8 months in, she started asking me about how my day was. I'm like, no, it was a day.
Right?
Yeah. What else are you gonna say about it? Like,
Yeah, it's like, I had to deal with this call where somebody's uncle sodomized their 4-year-old daughter. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And you just think, what the fuck? Like, yeah.
let's talk about that at dinner.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then
that.
So by my year mark, now it's just like when she asks me the question, I'm like, it's this, same shit, different toilet,
Yeah.
I mean, same stuff. And the problem is whenever I got home sometimes, I wouldn't want to do anything. I'd just sit in my couch and I'd want to just relax, decompress, blah, blah, blah. And then she'd be like, why don't you ever want to do anything? Like, why don't we do things anymore? I'm like, we'll do something, I promise, but not right now. And so now she started an internship for the social work thing this semester. And she'll call me and say, like, all the things that she's dealing with and how it stresses her out and yada, yada, how this kid has a mental illness. He's saying these kind of comments. And I'm like, And then she said the comment, I just want to go home and relax. I'm like,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Weird.
I'm like, oh, yeah. So now,
somewhere before.
right.
God.
So,
Deja vu?
Why don't we do anything anymore?
Yeah, why don't we go out?
yeah, exactly.
Flip
No,
that
I don't
around.
want to do anything anymore.
Yep.
Which that actually there is a flip side to that too. Being in patrol, I get to see when new businesses or new things start up. So on the opposite side of that, you can be like, hey babe, this video game arcade just opened up.
Yes.
Like no fucking clue it existed. They don't really have a lot of publicity. Like you might miss it scrolling through Facebook and shit. Like, yeah, let's go do that. So on the days that you actually want to pretend you exist with your pajama pants wearing, big gulp sucking down morons that you run into every day, which sounds really bad to the entire population, but no, just go have fun. It's kind of nice on the days you don't get home and just want to sit there and veg out and be like, I got to do this again in 2 days. Shit.
Sure.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we worked 410s, and when you work midnights, it's like your first day off, you're just sleeping. Your second day off might be the day that you go do something or you have to run errands.
Yeah.
And then the third day off, you're dreading going back to work, so you don't do shit anyways.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people don't realize. Yeah. It's that first day to decompress. The second day, you got to fucking run around and be like a normal person again. And then day 3, you're like, it's time to become an asshole. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get ready. You have to actually get ready to go back to work.
And when we talk about bad administration, it's just that much extrapolated and worse. On that third day, you're going to be like, oh my God, okay, we're going to go back. What kind of things am I going to run into? What kind of choices am I going to have to make that get not just ostracized by the public court of law, but also by administration? How is that going to affect me? How is my career going to be crippled? And,
so I'll expand on I'm going to expand on the trauma or the psychological trauma on this. What people like, and we're talking about like the day we go back to work or the day before back to work. I don't think anyone could ever capture this. I posted it a few times to talk about like what it's like to be a police officer, like as far as like when we leave for work. So I think everyone in this chat could agree on this. The minute we go to work, we're walking out of the front door of our house, and now our head immediately goes on a swivel, right? I mean, we open the front door. Even though it's our home where we generally feel safe, we're looking to see if maybe nobody has figured out where we live. I'm sure the majority of us have a handgun either in our waistband or, like for me, mine's in my hand. I'm walking out of my front door. Yeah, right? I think Bill's going to...
Bill's got a bunch.
Right next to us.
We're going to keep this monetized, okay? Just know that they're here.
Just in case Josh decides... In case Josh turns into a zombie...
Just in case.
You never know.
So... I walk out of my front door with a gun in my hand. I just do. I always have. I'm a firm believer that I got to be ready because it may be go time as I walk out my front door. I get in the car, right? We all get in our car and we start driving. Immediately, we're looking in our mirrors. We're making sure we're not being followed. And people don't realize that now we have become hypervigilant, which is not good for our bodies because of all the chemicals being released, killing the different things. We drive all the way to work. I don't know if you gentlemen have secure parking, but we don't have secure parking where I work. So I got to park.
Jeez.
I got to park with the general public. So I pull in. I look around. Obviously, I look around. Before I step out of my vehicle, and then when I step out of my vehicle, handgun's back in my hand. I have about a 100-yard walk to the back door of the police station. So backpacks on the back, and handguns in hand. And once again, this is all of us. We're now trying to get to the back door. We get to the back door of the police station, and like. Okay, I'm safe. I'm inside. I'm kind of safe because I'm inside the building. Now there's assholes that were outside that wanted to kill me. Now there's assholes inside this building that don't like me and want to take me out. But okay, that's a whole other conversation. So now we go to a locker room. And this is the part where a psychologist actually did a study. We as officers don't think about this because we do this every day for, whatever time that we were a cop. But you're putting on a piece of armor on your front and back to protect yourself, and then you're strapping a gun on your side, and there's already stress with that. There's psychologists talked about the stress of actually getting ready for battle, So you do that, and then now you go to your briefing, you get your marching orders, and you go 10-8, and now you try to stay alive for 10 to 12 and a half hours. And then you come in, and you take all that shit off, you rinse, repeat, you walk out to your car, gun back in hand, head on a swivel, get back in your car. Now you start cleaning, we all know. People don't realize we probably have 3 routes to get home. I'm going to take this freeway this time, take this freeway this time, or, then every now and then we all get paranoid where we're driving. Like, hey, that car's been behind me now for, 3 left turns. I'm going to go ahead and do 1/4 left turn and see if we're actually in a NASCAR race. And and we finally get home, and you sit in the driveway. You try to decompress because now you know that you have to walk inside of a house and pretend like nothing's happened to you all day long, like Sternal was talking about. And you walk into that front door and you close it and you feel safe again. But for the last 18 hours, you have been this, you know, and people don't realize that now you multiply that by the amount of years that you're a cop, and at the end, you're just destroyed. I mean, you're literally destroyed. People don't realize that that's what's going on.
Especially if you work overnight. Like, good luck getting any deep sleep when you're sleeping during the day. Like, I looked like a crackhead. I put tinfoil on my window to keep the sun and the heat out. I put a media drape to try and dampen some of the sound. I'd sleep with my face. Like, I tried to keep it as cool and dark as possible. I still never slept more than 2 hours at a time. I'd be up, go back to sleep, up, go back to sleep.
And if you look at it, what did they say is the number one way to torture? Sleep deprivation.
Sleep deprivation,
yeah. And there we are. Like,
well, and kind of as the more that I've been exploring this as we left, and I was actually talking to it was somebody else on Instagram about this, and he's been out for a year, and we're about to hit our year mark of being out, and that like the few days that I'll actually, I guess, like forget or be lucky enough to sleep. I slept 8 hours for the first time like a month ago straight. It was the first time in years that I legitimately slept. I did not remember, at least, waking up for an 8-hour period. And I woke up and I was like, man, I went outside. I was just checking to see if I got
5 years
yard work. It was the weirdest thing ever. And I didn't realize I hadn't experienced that in years until I finally actually slept there. And then literally it took 2 seconds for me to remember something that immediately triggered my PTSD. And then the very next night, I went back to like 1 hour naps until I got to my 6-ish hours.
Yeah.
And I woke back up. And it's a hard thing to articulate to people that haven't experienced that level of stress. And it's not like in the moment in doing it. So Sternal and Michael, and they're all going to go to work and be able to function as an officer.
Yeah.
You're perfectly capable of doing some ridiculous high-speed, low-drag
and you don't
bullshit.
even feel that. You don't feel different while you're doing it.
And really what you're doing is you're buying, I call it buying time. And it's you're just eating adrenaline. Constantly eating adrenaline. You have this weird addiction to 1,600 milligrams of caffeine and adrenaline that kind of keeps you going through the day. You know, but like when you walk away from that and you try to like be a normal fucking person, like my coworkers now that I have like a civilian job,
they don't understand.
Crazy person. I'll be sitting there and I'm over there and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And they're like, "Yeah, you look like you're having an existential crisis." I was like, "No, I'm just trying to figure out like how to convert this shit to a PDF because I haven't done this in years."
And here's an interesting part too: is like when I first met my wife, like it was the other week she told me like I'm a different person than when she had first met me.
Yeah.
She further elaborated on it. She says, whenever I'm talking to like my friends, specifically my military friends or my law enforcement friends, she says I'm way more different with them than I am with her. But that's because with those guys, I don't know, relate with them. And we have, but I don't know why, but for some reason, it's not that I don't love her any less. It's just, I don't know. I can't relate with her as well sometimes, or it's weird.
No, but you feel safe. This is a weird thing, and I'll come out and say it and be the softy about it. But like I've had like relationships before that. Like producer Juan, him and I were best. He introduced me to my wife, and I have a brother that him and I are only like a year and a half apart, and I've known him for all of the 30+ years that I've been alive. But Bill and I were talking about this. I was like, I legitimately would probably sleep better if Bill was in my house. Weirdly enough, it sounds strange, but like it's this odd thing that somebody else gets where I'm going through, and I feel safer here.
Yeah.
It's such an odd. You cannot fully, and SWATtheory had mentioned that about like the relationships you build in those like super shitty. I remember I hadn't shit in 10 hours. I had a 4-year-old's brain matter on my boot from a murder.
It was New Year's Eve. It was our last New Year's Eve on patrol.
Yeah,
it was.
And I'm sitting there, and I was like, you know what? You showed up afterwards.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, he volunteered to basically stay on scene because we had to secure the scene for the ME's office and all that stuff.
Volunteered for overtime too.
And he showed up, and I somehow immediately felt better. It was the strangest thing. I'm like miserable.
Well, they did it for him.
But like, it was interesting. The psychology behind all that. I'm not a nerd and don't know, but. I'd be interested to see that.
Josh, to be fair, Josh, if Bill was anywhere, if he was at your house or whatever, you'd feel a lot better.
Sure, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's a different. I don't know. It's a very strange the relationship you develop within those areas.
It's really weird.
He could be in your bed, and you'd be like,
it could be. I'd sleep like a baby if you were right
I'd be trying to find that bed and jump in.
We're gonna do coffee with the cop in a bed. We'll have SWATtheory like this right next to us.
Being a former 11 Bravo, I am not ashamed to say I have spooned with men in the field.
Hey man, it's about getting sleep.
It's about survival.
So, it's it's what it is.
Here's the stream, guys. It's going like this. We were on a high note. We got to the top of the roller coaster, and now we're on the way down.
Jump in the pilot seat and watch this. Going to that psychology thing, though, I think it goes back to, like you said, it just depends on what kind of shit you've been with somebody. Like, there are some calls where if I have to clear a house with some dickhead that just robbed some place has a gun, I'll have some people walk up to the other side of the door. They'll just do on up and get ready to go in, and it's just like, it's like that monkey meme of, oh shit.
Yes.
But
people
in the back of your head going, "Uh-oh, I'm in danger."
Yeah,
I'm in danger.
He's worked for 2 weeks. I'm in danger. What's also funny is you talked on like the 1,600 milligrams of caffeine, and just like the military, instead of being fueled by caffeine, nicotine, and hate, you're fueled by, well, actually about the same thing, really. But it's funny because shit will happen. Like, I've already sucked down my coffee, need a refill, but something crazy will happen. Like we'll be getting groceries or some shit. We'll walk outside and I'll be with my wife, and you know what the sound is. She's like, "Oh my God!" And I'll be sitting there going, "Ah, fuck, the cereal expires next week. Can I go back and get more?" And she's like, "Aren't you concerned?" I'm like, "Dear, I love you, but this shit is literally my resume. I don't care." Yeah, what was that? Well, somebody probably shot somebody. I gotta go deal with that later.
Yeah.
It gets to that point that, like, I forgot if it was Chris or somebody else said this, the chemicals and shit, it's not normal, it's not healthy, to the point where where I live is close to ding 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 country, so literally
North Carolina?
Yeah. So I live kind of out there in the boonies, which I love because I don't have to worry about people trying to, murder me. And if they tried to, I know that most of my neighbors are armed better than my police department. But
Hell yeah.
I was out doing yard work the other day, or maybe I was taking down Christmas lights or something, and I just heard
Christmas lights.
And I go, 3D printed trigger or force reset trigger? Whatever. Meanwhile, my wife's freaking out. She thinks it's a gang war happening out in the boondocks. I'm like, no, it's just a redneck having fun, dear. Calm down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just
that every day.
And it's so incredible to take a step back after it happens and look at the juxtaposition of my just sort of, my wife has told people a nuclear bomb would go off across the fucking neighborhood, and my husband would sit there and be like, well, we've probably got to move. Like, that's just hard to get me excited anymore. Well, and meanwhile, fucking mouse farts in the middle of the night, and she's ready to sweep the house with my M4.
So, like, I've been in the military for about 7 years, and I talked to you guys recently about the simulators I had to do this week, being in convoys. So we did those simulators. It was pretty fun. You had this full interactive experience. It was called RBTT. You had a Humvee. There was 8 of them. It had all the technology that's normally on a Humvee, including the weapon system. And I was thrown onto a gunner position in a convoy. And so I'd already been in for about 7 to 8 years, prior 11 Bravo, police officer, all that stuff. And the person that was the driver was this like young girl. She's brand new to this world, and all that stuff. So we started taking like indirect, and it's crazy because you're in this Humvee and there's projectors all around you, and it's like a 360 projector, but it's fully immersive using the ARMA system, which is awesome. But we started taking indirect fire, and this bomb just went off right in front of her, and she started screaming like, and then she went up for it. I'm like, don't panic, just keep going.
Yeah, just keep. Why are you leaving the roadway? Keep going. What the fuck?
Stop yelling. Stop screaming. Go. It was just crazy because it just didn't faze me. I was like, keep going. You know.
And I remember experiencing the transition of being the rookie, like with my PTO, like me freaking out, thinking, "Bro, we're about to kick this door," and like my palms getting sweaty, and like my television guy, I probably reacted super slow, super slow. And then I remember at the end we had a shooting at a Waffle House.
Oh god!
Towards the tail end of where I was at, and I, like a dumbass, I showed up like way too quickly. And I show up and I get on my.
Well, there was a rookie officer already there.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to.
And so, like, everyone's spilling out of this Waffle House, and I, like a dumbass, I roll right up to the parking lot, and I step out, and I immediately step on what I recognize to be shell casings, and I was like, the Ralphie in the back of my mind's like, oh, hey, by the way. And so all I did was, like, I really calmly, like, hit my rifle thing. I got my rifle, and I got behind my Tahoe, and I was like, yeah, just go ahead and give me some more units, like, code. You were coming to us. I've seen a couple more units code. I got people running out the back.
I was already violating policy, driving too fast.
But like by the end of it, I was thinking back on it, and I remember watching my body cam footage and thinking like, wow, this is really restrictive. Like there's so much shit happening on the side here of what my body cam can't see.
Yeah.
But that's how not afraid. And I should have been more nervous about it. I was almost getting to the point of complacency because of how shitty.
It's just how many shootings we worked.
Yeah, but like the difference of kind of like what you're saying is like I probably should be more nervous, but I'm not, and I think it's just a coping mechanism. I really think once you've done it enough, and like you've done like the shitty parts of the job, that it's just a coping. Like your brain just decides, okay, like we can't freak out about shit all the time, or we're gonna fucking die at 30. You know, so I'm just gonna like really limit your stress response.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is not healthy. This is really not healthy at all, but
no, you're absolutely right.
And it's interesting too. So I work, I live in the county that my city is in, but I don't live in my city. And so in my city, if I hear gunshots, when I first started, it was, oh God. Now I just go, oh God. I'm gonna have to do a report.
You're like, then, I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to work this later. I know it.
But then I go out, I come home, and where I hear gunshots all day long, every day, and I'm sitting here just like, I wonder what they're shooting. Yeah, you know, it's that difference.
Yeah.
Like, and my girlfriend's seen it. She'll see me. We'll be in town if we have to go to town when I'm off. As soon as I hear gunshots, I'll go. Even though I'm not working, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
I've seen some guys that have worked gang shootings, and this is how they worked it. We rolled up. What happened? You just tumbleweed, door slamming, people closing curtains. I'll look at him. He'll look at me. He'll take his heel and just kind of kick the shell casings into the gutter. And go, oh, nothing happened here. Get in his car and fucking drive off.
Good, my man.
Hey, like,
I've been there.
After doing it for almost 10 years, you know, okay, what's going to happen? We're going to call detectives. They're going to come out. They're going to ask where the victims are. They're not going to get anybody at the hospital for at least a couple hours. They're going to try to go home and do Mexican surgery on their stomach and then take them to the hospital.
Yep.
And we'll eventually have victims. And they're going to say, well, I was cleaning my gun and went off. Or I was out at the shooting range and my buddy accidentally had a negligence charge. I don't know who shot me. Go fuck yourself. I'm not going to work with you. We're going to waste hundreds of man hours searching a case that's going to be closed off with closed, no cooperation. So how does he do it? Community policing. And this will get picked up at the treatment plant, and off we go to the next person. Actually, what's our head?
I love that.
And unfortunately, that's you guys. It's nature of the beast.
Yeah.
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 It is what it is.
Yeah, but if you tell people that's how you do police, like you don't care about your community, and that's a violent. It's like, let me. Do you know what I can do with who shot you? Go fuck yourself. Seriously, who shot you? You're dying. Literally, this person is getting away with murder. Who shot you?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do with that?
I don't talk with the police, man. Sorry.
There it is.
Which we've had this discussion. It's the whole getting bitter about how your policies and shit work. I've had guys that have said, why the fuck can't we just start putting a tourniquet on and go, who shot you? Who shot you? Fuck you, I don't talk to police. I don't want your help.
Take that sucker off.
Take the tourniquet off and go.
Bye.
Agents will be here in about 30 minutes because they're not going to show up because the scene's not secure. So hope you have a will. I'm going to get lunch now.
And that's actually a funny one right there, because Minnesota had a new legislature pass recently in the last year where it updated the deadly force kind of stuff. We cannot use deadly force on someone who is an imminent threat to themselves. So we can also become liable if we provoke that threat to themselves too. So we are in a really kind of interesting
area. On. So you could be chasing somebody, they can go, oh no, I don't want to be taken with the police. Fuck you, and take themselves hostage, and you're liable.
Yes,
we're taking transfers.
What the
fuck, yeah. Dude? So we're the county sent it. The county attorney specifically and the deputy sheriff. He sent out an email to like all the agencies stating what their response is going to be to mental health calls specifically. If they have a gun to themselves, sometimes they're like, we're considering just going away, because if we provoke them to shoot themselves by being there, we're going to be liable. But then they're also liable by not doing anything either, because that's neglect.
Because you want to go from here to shooting at a cop. Like,
no, I've said that all the time. Like, okay, what I want you to do is go ahead and take your gun out. I want you to point it at me, or training gun, whatever. And when I aim at you, I want you to shoot me. Okay, we're gonna do it. Bang. What happened? I thought you were gonna shoot me. Like, people don't get that your reaction will always be, on average, about 0.233 seconds behind whatever somebody does. Sure. Yeah, I've said it all the time. And let's be like, hey, when I move, I just want you to say bang, okay? You pay attention, I want you to bang. Why don't you say bang? And every time you do it, the attorneys and prosecutor's office go, oh, yeah, it's a good point. Fucking silence. Nothing ever gets changed. And what's super surprising to me is I'm not going to say how proximate I am to Minnesota, but, within a day or two's drive. Where I live, we actually had, and I can't believe this guy was such a fucking idiot, we had a guy with a shotgun underneath his chin. And a deputy showed up by himself, who had rank,
of course,
didn't ask for backup.
Of course.
Who's I forgot what the name of that fat police officer in Batman, the animated series, who's like, I'm the guy's like, Batman's the last thing I ever do. But he just waddles up to him. The guy's like, if you come any closer, I'm going to blow my fucking head off. And the deputy basically said, nuh-uh, hey, is that a moose? And he went to go grab the shotgun, and the guy fucking just brain confetti. In front of the dude's wife, in front of the dude's two kids, and around the dash cam.
Oh,
no lawsuit. Wow. That's how different it is, because they argued he was attempting to take the gun away from him to save his life, and consequently make the guy go, okay.
Yeah.
But fortunately, that didn't happen. But we all heard that and went, what the fuck were you thinking? Most of us would have shown up going, so you're having a bad day. Please don't kill yourself. I'm going to drive down the block and call you a mental health professional. Who's going to show up and say, does he still have the gun?
I'm not going.
Why does he still have a gun? Because it's what the people wanted. Now go talk to him and don't get shot. I've got a vest if you want one.
I'll donate my helmet.
Here's my plates.
Get a helmet too. Yeah. Do you want a shield? I think there's a sergeant down the street with a shield.
I think it's rated for a deer slug. Might break your ribs. You'll be all right. Go get him.
You should be fine. Yeah. You should be fine. Workman's comp will get you there. You'll be fine.
Keep your head moving. Keep your head. You'll be all right. Just keep your head moving.
Do you want my vest? I can give you my vest. Here's hang on. Right. Here's my vest.
Right.
Just if he puts the gun down, just do this over your head, and I'll come. I'll transport.
Yeah. I'll have my handcuffs ready.
I know, right?
But say this shit to the general public, and you're an absolute monster. So.
Well, I mean, you gotta figure though too. People are going to watch this stream later on down the line, and they're going to make some negative comments, like
of course.
And I think SWAT, you said it, or someone said it in here, is like, well, they don't care. It's like, no, we actually do care. We show up, we go back to work, and we do it all over again, regardless of our cynicalness. We get back up in the morning and head back out there and do it, realizing what we're up against. So, and 750,000 men and women will get back up and go to work. And know that they have, like I said, I always go back to this. It's because of our media, that loud 10% that hates us, they get the forum. But 90% of the people want us out there. They just stay quiet. They don't get involved, and that's why we keep doing what we're doing, because we know why we know why we do it. And I think, Josh, you mentioned it. You had some kids' brains on your boots. And the reason why we're out there is we want to prevent that from happening again. We don't want that to happen. We also want the person who did it to be held accountable. And that's why we do what we do, because that way no parent has to bury their 4-year-old child. And And that's the plain simple of it, you know. So, hey, I'm gonna let you guys do your outros here and tell people goodbye. I'm gonna actually click on you guys individually. So I'll go with you, SWATtheory, and then I'll work my way around the room. It looks like Michael went to the little boys' room. So, anyways,
the phrasing on that, the phrasing.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, right.
Whoa.
All right, SWAT, the floor is yours.
Don't do sleep. Get 8 hours of drugs. Get away from school or something like that. Damn it.
Caffeine is a drug.
No, keep on keeping on, I guess. I don't really know how to say goodbyes.
All right.
I don't like goodbyes, so I'll see you again later.
That's the Minnesota goodbye.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, Sternal, it's all you.
For me, it's just I want you guys to take the session we had today into account. Chris kind of touched on it just in his outro there. He was saying that we still go back to the job because, when we're dealing with these people, we're doing it for the right reasons. We want these people to become better. And there's so many times I thought to myself, I'm like, dude, just stop doing what you're doing and make good decisions, but they don't, and it sucks. But there's always people that do change, and that's what makes the job worth it. So that's just think about how when we're going places, we're not there just to kick the door in and do all this stuff. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to help people. And so just remember that, we're all human. We just want the best for everybody. That's my thing.
Cool. Michael?
How do I follow up to those?
Right?
Just say bye.
Just say bye.
Yeah.
Just say.
I will say this. We get Josh and Bill they got out, and I'm jealous, but we do. We get back every day. We go back to work. We decide we're gonna put ourselves through it every day, and we do care. We want to try and make our communities better than what they were when we left them at the end of shift, or how we came on. So there's always gonna be haters. There's gonna be somebody that's gonna sit here. They're gonna watch this whole stream and they're gonna pick one little thing, cherry pick something out of here to try and crucify us all with. But oh well, I'm here for it. I'm ready for it, and I loved having this conversation. So.
Well, that's why we got these two guys here to defend us.
Yeah.
Hey, send all the haters, bro. Send all the haters. I love it.
Yes.
Do you have a PO box we can send?
Hey, send it.
Well, sleep over with the cops everybody wants in Chris's basement. So Fox is getting evicted for a little bit.
I don't know if you're gonna get me to California. So.
I know. I don't blame you. I'd rather come. Actually, honestly, I'd rather come to Texas. So.
Yeah. Okay.
They're trying to do politics to Texas, when I heard.
It's true.
So
you got Bill running for governor. Good luck.
Right. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
You wanna go first?
Yeah.
I don't know what I say. Yeah.
I just I think what we really wanted to do was have conversations like this with these four guys who are actually still doing the job, and just to be there to say all the crap that they can't say, because at the end of the day, we all know what they're thinking, but them not being able to say it, I am very happy to say it, and you can come comment on any of my pages or videos that you want to. I don't care. So I just appreciate them for still being out there, still doing good work, and still trying to keep that good name of police going.
And we love you.
Yeah. And I'll say this again, we got out, and me personally, and I'll kind of speak for myself, I got out because people weren't worth dying for anymore. And that's selfish and shitty for me to say, but I had a conversation with myself, and I said, I am not willing to die for the people that I'm helping police right now. That being said, everyone else that's here that's still active duty is voluntarily signing up to die for you every day. And so anytime that you look at these conversations, or you see why they're cynical, or you see why they're cynical, because that's what they had. That's their skin in the game. It's like, hey, I put the vest on and the badge on and the gun on for you. You're not putting yourself at risk for me. I'm doing it for you. The only thing I'm really asking is that you understand that that's kind of a shitty end of the stick. And so, like, I think most people lose that in this conversation and think that, well, cops do it because they like power. Bro, you have less power as an officer over your own life. You're really putting yourself at the mercy of society. And it's like I said, and we used to tell this to rookies all the time, when you sign up to put this job on there, understand that you were voluntarily picking straws that day to see who's going to give their life at the mantle of society. Because cops do it every fucking day. There's a cop dying. There's a cop being permanently injured, whether physically or mentally, for the rest of their lives. And that they're paying the tab for society, for the wheels of society to continue to turn. And I'm willing to still stay part of the discussion, but I haven't a badge has not touched my body since I've left.
Right. And
I've had no interest on going back because that's how burned I felt from that. But part of that made me feel like the voice that these guys can't have. That's why we're doing it. But thank them for doing that. I hate it when people thank you for your stuff. I gave up on y'all. Say they did it. Don't thank me because I was like, fuck you guys. That sounds like y'all's problem now. So
yeah,
that's our 2 cents, and we're thankful to be here.
I'll talk to you about that a little bit once the cameras are off, because I don't like giving bad men bad ideas. But yeah, I'll talk to you more once the cameras are off.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our Coffee with Cops. We're gonna have to change the title there because I definitely want to keep doing this. It's awesome to have my fellow Leos in here to actually give you their perspectives on law enforcement. Because, like I've said before, law enforcement differs from region to region, state to state, and it is nice to be able to get those deep talks. Sternal hit on a real good point, talking about the reason why we go back out there. What a lot of people don't realize, and I'm going to end with this, is that 90% of a law enforcement officer's job is boring. We go out there and officers today are gonna deal with the neighbor call where neighbors don't get along, the loud music, someone parking in a handicap zone. They're gonna sit there and they're gonna get a call of a transient making camp. And these superfluous calls that just come in every day. That 90% is broken up by 10% of when they're going to run to a call screaming, because it's a man with a gun, it's a person being assaulted, a robbery in progress. That's just not happening. So 90% of what they're doing is just that mundane work, and they flawlessly do their jobs where they try to change someone's life in the 10 to 15 minutes that they're on a radio call, and they absolutely know that they're not going to be able to do that. But Sternal kind of hit on that, and I wanted to end with that, is that you just have to realize that we're not going balls to the wall for 12 and a half hours. And there's a lot of social work that law enforcement does throughout their shift. And I say that it's a lot of social work. We're basically trying to help people that make bad decisions for themselves. And that's why they call us, because they need someone to help them get through that. So, all right.
For one last piggyback on that, I want to say one more thing. I'm sorry.
No worries.
So there's the very many occasions where an enforcement decision should have been made by me, but I sometimes, to kind of change up their psyche, maybe I will not make that enforcement decision. But the last thing I will say to them is make good decisions. So that way they remember me, who totally surprised them by not doing what they thought I was going to do. And then the last words I said was make good decisions. And I kind of like doing that, because sometimes they don't need the ticket. They just need what the
right?
Huh?
Yeah.
You said make good decisions. All right. I don't know. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they go away. Maybe they drive away laughing. Who knows?
Better about.
Right.
Exactly.
If you really want to screw people's OODA loop, just wave at them when you're in your car. Because people have that preconceived notion of, here's this dickhead, and you're sitting there going,
right?
Oh, I wave at everybody. I wave at everybody.
Yep. So I don't know. I do that because I care about the person and them doing better and making good decisions and not making me write reports.
Right. You heard it there. All right, everybody. Right. This is Chris the Cop. We are out. Thank you again for joining us. I'm very humbled that you joined me and my friends today. It's been an awesome hour and a half, and we will be definitely doing this again in about 2 weeks. So take care, everybody. Take care of yourself. Take care of one another. And I'm just going to say, remember, we can make the world a better place by just helping one person at a time. And these gentlemen are doing it every day. Peace out, everybody. Let me, hold on. That's ending.